Today we're going to do a recap of the movie called Attack of the 50-Foot Cheerleader. The movie opens with Iron Coast University cheerleading tryouts. Cassie auditions for cheerleading, but fails miserably. However, Brittany Andrews, current Zeta president and cheer captain, rejects her. Cassie works in the biology building of the university, where she and her friend Kyle are working on a drug that turns things beautiful. She returns from the tryouts to the biology building. Kyle asks her about her tryout. She tells him that it was very terrible. He tells her to forget about the tryout. She tells him that he doesn't understand her situation because her mom was captain of the cheerleading squad for 3 years running, and she was also the president of her sorority, so she has expectations for her. Meanwhile, Dr. Higgs enters the lab with Mr. Gray. He introduces Mr. Gray to his lab assistants, Kyle and Cassie. He tells Cassie and Kyle that Mr. Gray is a representative from a pharmaceutical company called Zemchem. Mr. Gray looks at Kyle and tells Dr. Higgs that he's just a kid. Kyle tells him that he's a kid with a master's degree in biochemistry. Mr. Gray tells him overconfidently that degrees do not mean a shit to him because he just wants results. Kyle then tells him their work. Cassie shows a picture taken 3 days ago of a mutilated mouse and shows them the mouse's condition today. She tells Mr. Gray that they took the picture right before giving the mouse their Renew compound. Mr. Gray looks at the mouse and it looks completely normal. Cassie tells Mr. Gray that they created this compound that can rejuvenate aging epidermal cells. Kyle tells Mr. Gray that this compound is also aiding in replication, so only the healthiest cells go into mitosis. Cassie tells Mr. Gray that, in other words, this compound can turn ugliness into beauty. Mr. Gray doesn't believe it and says that he only has one question, and that question is if this compound will work on titties. Dr. Higgs hesitates at first because they have not conducted any human experiments, but then tells Mr. Gray that, yes, it will work on boobs, so Mr. Gray won't argue with him. Mr. Gray gets excited and tells him that Zemchem's fundings for the Renew compound will blast through the ceiling. He tells them that this calls for celebration. Cassie tells them she has other matters to attend to. Kyle tells her that she has to stay because this is what they've been working on for a very long time, and she has to stay to celebrate their success. Cassie makes excuses and flees. She goes to join the Zeta Mu sorority. There, Sandra, the Zeta's house mother, welcomes her and 2 other new girls. She gives them tea, and after tea, she takes them to their rooms. Cassie thinks that the house mother is nice and polite, until she shows her true awful envious colors. The house mother opens the room doors, and we see a bunch of attractive girls in their undergarments, pillow fighting with each other in slow motion with slow and angelic music in the background. Cassie thinks that she just entered heaven, and the house mother tells her and the 2 other girls to get in the room. They don't move because of their current state of mesmerism, so she pushes them, yelling, "Move, bitches, before I rip your tits off." Then she tells everyone with a polite tone and an innocent smile on her face that, "May God have mercy on your souls," and closes the door. The girls in the room turn the lights off and turn the neon lights on and reveal themselves wearing glow-in-the-dark undergarments and painted in glow-in-the-dark ink. The head of the sorority girls aggressively welcomes them and tells them that this is a hell month, sluts. She tells them that most sororities do this for a week. She tells Cassie and the other girls that to be a member of the Zeta Mu sorority, they have to earn it, and the only way to earn is to strip. All of the girls start chanting, "Strip, strip, strip." They all, one by one, take their clothes off and strip, and the head girl marks them with glow-in-the-dark ink as an official member of Zeta Mu. Later on, Cassie video calls her mom, Brenda Stratford, and tells her that she's in the sorority, and lies that she made it in the cheerleading squad. Her mother gets excited and tells her that she always believed in her, and she's proud of her, because being a cheerleader is not only for pretty girls. Cassie then asks her mother if she'll send her a check for the rest of the tuition. Her mother says yes, she will send her the check because she earned it. Later that night, Cassie breaks into her lab and sees the picture of that mutilated rat that is now normal. She sits and stares at the picture while the voices of various people mocking her about her looks echoes in her head. Unable to resist, she injects herself with the Renew compound. Before injecting herself, she presses the injection to see if the needle is working, and a few drops of the serum drop on the floor, where a small spider is crawling and gets in the way of the small portion of the serum and presumably drinks it. The spider runs along, while Cassie wipes the floor where she dropped some of the serum and runs back to her room. The next morning, she wakes up, wears her gigantic glasses, and goes to the washroom. She notices that her eyesight is much more improved, and she doesn't need the glasses. She also notices that her face is looking much prettier. The acne on her skin is gone, and her hair looks much thicker and cleaner than before. She sees that her breasts have also improved and look bigger. She wakes up her roommate, Jet, to tell her that she looks completely different and more beautiful than before. But turns out Jet is not in her bed, but a plastic toy dummy is in her place, with a note taped on it saying that she met some guy and don't wait for her. Next to the dummy, Jet placed an audio player on the pillow playing snoring voices, like she's sleeping and present in the room. Cassie undresses herself and takes a good look at herself in the mirror. In the corner of the mirror, she sees her invitation card to a Greek-themed party at the university on Sunday. On Sunday, Cassie goes to the Greek bash party, looking all fine and dazzling like a Greek goddess. Brittany arrives at the party dressed as Medusa. Her friends compliment her, and they all see Cassie walking in the party. They look at her with envious eyes and could not believe that Cassie looks completely different and much more attractive than them. Cassie meets them, and the first thing they tell her is that this is impossible. She cannot look like this, and how is she looking better than them? Cassie tells them that she just got a little makeover by a secret stylist. Brittany and her friends rudely ask her about her secret stylist and his name. Heck, one of Brittany's goons threatens Cassie and tells her to spill the name of her secret stylist or she'll slit her throat. Meanwhile, Kyle calls Cassie and tells her that something weird happened at the lab and he wants her to join him there. She asks him what happened. Kyle tells her that, strangely, the mouse that they injected with Renew compound is missing, and his cage is completely ripped and there's no sign of the mouse, just his blood and fur is left. Cassie tells him that she cannot come to the lab because she's busy at the party. Kyle does not argue with her and tells her that he'll look after the whole situation and she should just enjoy the party. At the party, she meets Brandon and he introduces himself to Cassie and they both get to know each other. Brittany grabs everyone's attention and starts the party game. Cassie and other girls compete, but evidently, due to her impressive serum, she wins the game and shocks Brittany. Later at Brandon's football game, Cassie attends the game with her friend Jet. Jet asks her why she injected herself with the Renew serum. Cassie tells her that she doesn't know what came over her when she secretly injected herself. She tells Jet that after injecting herself with the Renew compound, she felt a weird sense of confidence. Jet asks her about Kyle's opinion about her secret little science experiment. She tells her that she in fact did not tell Kyle that she injected herself with the Renew compound. Jet reminds Cassie that this serum turned her into Barbie overnight, and she has to tell Kyle. Cassie tells her that she wanted to tell Kyle, but she got distracted by Brandon, while she watches Brandon in the field with romantic intentions. Jet makes Cassie promise that she'll tell Kyle about the serum, and Cassie promises. After the game, one of Brittany's friends, Tiffany, goes to the girls' bathroom to take a shower. She takes her clothes off and opens the shower. Suddenly, she hears a weird noise. She stops the shower, covers herself, and asks if anyone else is in the washroom. She sees no one. She leans from the showers, and all of a sudden, a man scares her, who turns out to be Mac, her boyfriend. She tells him to leave her alone. Mac leaves, and Tiffany goes back to shower, but hears a screeching noise again. She gets scared and thinks it's Mac teasing her again. She goes to the stall and sees that there's no one there, but when she turns around, there's a huge spider attacking her. It turns out to be the same spider that came into contact with the Renew compound, and it grew big and ate the mouse. She tries to fight the spider. She locks the door on the spider and runs away in terror. The next day, Cassie tries out again for the cheerleading squad. She surprisingly excels in all the dance moves that Brittany tells her to perform, and she makes it into the cheerleading squad. Later in the class, Cassie starts to feel some side effects of the serum. Her stomach starts growling, her shirt starts to get tight because her breasts start to grow bigger, and her sorority badge pops and flies right into the eye of the professor and blinds him. Cassie escapes the class with Jet to dodge any more troubles. Jet takes her to her biology lab to see Kyle. They meet up with him, and he freaks out when he sees Cassie is 2 feet taller than him. He tells Cassie that they have to tell Dr. Higgs about this, and they need to get the Renew compound out of her somehow. Cassie refuses. Jet tells her that the super dork here might be right. Cassie tells them that she feels better with this compound, and it makes her more confident, and people notice her and pay attention to her. She says that she didn't like her old lame self, so she's not going to change herself again. She tells them that she has to buy new, bigger clothes for herself, and she leaves the lab. Then we see a montage of her trying to fit in with the university life with her being pretty and 7 feet tall. We see her walking around normal girls that look like dwarves in front of her. She attends classes while blocking the board for the students sitting behind her. We see her attending her cheerleading practices where she's struggling a bit because it's getting hard for her partner to move or pick her up. After her cheerleading practice, Kyle approaches Cassie and asks her why she hasn't answered any of his calls. She tells him that she was a bit busy with cheerleading. Kyle tells her that he's worried about her and the serum might have more side effects. Cassie tells him that she's feeling completely fine and better than ever. Kyle requests her to at least let him run some tests on her. She says that she doesn't have time for this and blows him off. He tells her that he's disappointed in the whole new version of her, and he leaves. Meanwhile, at the university's function, Cassie connects with Brandon. They both make out, while Cassie slowly starts growing bigger and bigger. Brandon gets scared and tells her that she's literally growing, and all of a sudden he sees the huge spider, bigger than before, coming towards them. Brandon runs away, but the spider follows him. Cassie, now even bigger, follows the spider and kills it with a stop sign. Cassie goes back to Kyle and asks him for help, and he helps her. He hides her in the university basketball court. They both hide the spider, and both of them run tests on the spider in order to create an antidote for the serum, and they end up making it successfully. Kyle finally tells Dr. Higgs about Cassie's situation and asks for his help. Higgs goes to Mr. Gray for help, and he gets Zemchem security for help instead of medical professionals or scientists. Dr. Higgs tells him that Cassie is not a threat, but Mr. Gray refuses and tells him that his lab assistant is a 50-foot-tall cheerleader with superhuman strength, so she must be put down. Afterwards, Brittany discovers Cassie's secret when Brandon enters her room drunk and tells her everything about Cassie's growth. Brittany tries to seduce Kyle into telling her the secret, which leads to her being accidentally injected with more of the drug than Cassie and also growing. Mr. Gray confronts Cassie and tries to persuade her to come with them. Cassie resists, so he tases Kyle and tases Cassie with a giant bazooka taser. He captures her in the football field and tells them that he'll fly away with Cassie and use her as a publicity stunt to promote Zemchem. He tells his men to ready the plane to bag Cassie up and drop Kyle and Jet back to the lab. At the lab, Kyle uses a giant-size antidote injection of Renew and plans to rescue Cassie with Jet. They try to rescue Cassie, but they both fail miserably. Cassie overpowers and frees herself from the restraints. Kyle tries to inject her with the serum, but she again refuses. This time she tells Kyle that she heard about Brittany's rampage, since she has grown 50 feet taller as well, and she's the only one who can stop her. The Renew compound made Cassie aggressive, and Brittany was already aggressive, so the Renew compound might make her even worse. Mr. Gray heads to capture Brittany as well. He tries to electrocute Brittany, but his giant-sized taser fails. Brittany beats up Zemchem's men and hangs Gray on the stadium lights tower. She makes her way to the stadium and starts cheerleading and scaring people with her gigantism. Cassie enters the stadium and confronts Brittany, which leads to a catfight. During their fight, they both headbutt each other and rip each other's tops off, and fight with each other topless. Cassie wins the fight by injecting Brittany with an overdose of the antidote before knocking her out. Kyle then injects Cassie with the antidote, and she's returned to normal. While Cassie and Kyle kiss, Brittany is shrunken to dwarf size due to the overdose, and is made fun of by her fellow cheerleading squad.